Hello and welcome to the Northland Artists Conversation. My name is Mark Kelly. I'm your wonderful host. Normally sitting across from me is the fantastic Andrew McKenzie, who's currently away at the moment at the filming of this. He's very, very busy with work at the moment. But by the time this comes out, he'll probably be back with us. So, I don't know, Andrew, welcome back, I think. Yeah, welcome back. I'll say welcome back. Today's guest, Anna Clarke, man, super cool. She had this amazingly beautiful piece of art that sat to the left of me. Super cool. For those of you that are going to be listening to this podcast, it was like a beautiful, like a really big canvas, like a meter by meter type thing. Beautiful night sky. She'd put like a Milky Way in there, and then she'd put something that I thought looked like the Aurora Borealis down the bottom, with a bit of sort of Northland hilly mountain countryside and stuff like that. She talks about it quite a bit. Super cool. She talks about being inspired by her parents, how they're both creatives as well. She shares her journey through science, which who knew, she talks about sort of putting art a little bit on the back burner for a few years while she goes and does the science thing. She talks about how she is just super passionate. She has a lot of really interesting things to say, and I know that's really vague, but it's kind of one of those things I really want people to either watch or listen to the podcast, because we don't just talk about art, we talk about Anna as a whole, as a human being, and some of the things that she's passionate about, not just painting. She does really, really cool things where she kind of travels throughout Northern region and is doing like art in progress, so you get to see the art. She talks about a petition that she's got going as well. It's just one of those, she was such a cool person, and we bounced off each other and had a really good back and forth, a lot of laughter, through to editor Rocky quite a few times as well. That doesn't happen that often, but who knows what you're going to get on each podcast, right? And I think that's quite a cool thing. So, without further ado, let's sit down and have a conversation with the wonderful Anna Clarke. Oh, Anna Clarke, with an E. Thank you so much for coming in to the glorious Five Elements Media Studios and sitting down with myself and with my editor and producer Rocky today, this afternoon, this evening. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me here. I'm really excited.
And I'd also like to say thank you very much for driving down from Kerikeri.
Not a problem.
Appreciate it.
It was an easy drive, mostly.
It was. Yeah. No Makana, but that's okay. We'll forgive you.
Just.
I know Makana's my addiction. I was up there on Friday and I spent a little bit and then ate it over the long weekend. I digress, though. We're not here to talk about Makana and it's all its gloriousness. We're here to talk about you. I'm going to address this right here, and we'll cut to the wide.
The elephant painting in the room.
It's this. This is absolutely glorious. We've been very, very fortunate to have a few artists bring in their artwork, and obviously we were doing a bit of setup before we started recording, just to actually try and display it in all its magnificent glory. When did you start this?
I started it on a Matariki weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this like inspirational idea and I really wanted to make a statement, and I went into my cupboard and I was like, I need the biggest canvas that I have, but I need it right now because it was Matariki weekend and I needed to start that very day. So I actually used to be a painting that I did in high school. And,
really?
Yeah, used to have like a plaster cast bust and all this little fairy tale princess sort of stuff going on there that I did in school, and so I pulled that off and sanded it back and painted it white, and so underneath there, if you pulled that off, you'd maybe find another painting from earlier days.
Now, was there something specific about Matariki weekend that made you go, you know what, I really want to do something in front of people, or that inspires the weekend, that's inspired from the weekend?
Yeah, well, it was obviously the first one that we've celebrated as a nation.
Yes, it was.
So it was kind of momentous. It was a bit unusual in and of itself. And I just noticed like there were all these new streetlights that had gone in town.
Yeah.
And I kind of sleep with my eyes a little bit open, which is really creepy, but
Okay.
so I'm a little bit disturbed by light at nighttime, even small amounts. So I had this little personal vendetta about dark nights.
Oh,
and then
right,
I did
okay.
I also did a little bit of research, and it's actually a thing.
Is it really?
It's a real thing.
Do you have like the blackout curtains?
No, I don't have any curtains. I don't want to have curtains.
You have no curtains,
No,
so you
no.
the light just seeps in.
Yep, just any
Okay.
light, moon,
Wow.
street lights, whatever it is.
Do you like pull the duvets over your head to block that?
Yeah,
No?
I do now have like one of those little eye mask things, which is really handy.
That's so funny.
But it is actually a thing that actually, one, not sleeping with curtains is good for you because then the natural light wakes you up in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good thing for your like circadian rhythm.
I've heard that.
Yes.
Yes.
Keeps you in check.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why no curtains.
No mobile phones late at night either,
Yeah,
apparently.
true.
That screws up your circadian rhythm as well. Yeah.
Yep.
Man,
And
we're going to get some science research stuff. I love it.
definitely, I could go into more, but I did do a whole degree in science, so I have a little bit of
You did.
a penchant for science.
There's definitely a
Yep.
lean that way.
Yeah. So yeah, the darkness at night thing was kind of like something that I was interested in and affects me personally, but it's also become a bit more of a topic around different regions. So
Okay,
I
okay.
was living in Southland for the last 4-ish years, on and off between Northland and Southland.
Are we talking like Invercargill, Southland?
Invercargill and Stewart Island.
Right, Stewart Island.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like the furthest you can get away from
It is.
home in New Zealand.
Yeah, it's like I really need to get away from my parents. What's the furthest point I can go?
Pretty much. And then I said to them, well, it's not Europe, so it's...
Yeah. I'm not going to my OE.
yeah, not quite. But yeah, that basically I did an OE around New Zealand. This was before COVID even happened.
Yep.
And ended up down on Stewart Island by kind of fortune.
Okay.
Friends were like, oh, we're doing some shark research down here and you could maybe bunk in with us at the university accommodation for free for a night. So I thought, why not go to Stewart Island?
Wow.
Yeah, and ended up, I went there and I really loved it. Wasn't what I was expecting.
Yeah.
There's a lot more forest than I was expecting.
Yeah,
I thought it was going to be like windy and grassy and rocky and just penguins and things, but
no.
it's actually like lush and they've got all these fuchsia trees and rhododendrons.
Wow.
And,
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, mind blown. Really,
Yeah.
I was very much like it's going to be barren.
Yeah, and miserable.
Yes, cold and like a worse version of Wellington.
Yeah, exactly. But actually, it made me think of actually Bay of Islands, Northland as well, because it has all these
Wow.
beautiful beaches and the water is really clear but really cold.
Yes, very cold.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, this is really cool. This is like what it sounds like Northland was like, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago with a small community and there's
Yeah.
like one policeman and
Mm-hmm.
so I was really keen to stay on for a bit. So I ended up doing that.
How long were you there for?
Three summers. So I worked in tourism while I was down there.
Stewart Island has a tourism?
Yes, it does now. It didn't used to. It used to be
Okay.
like a fishing only sort of village.
Yeah. I think the furthest I've ever gotten down to is Bluff,
Yep,
which I think is as far as you can go without actually getting on the boat.
exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah, okay, wow. Yeah, and I think the whole time I only knew it as like a fisherman sort of destination to fish around and stuff. But
Yep.
wow, there's an actual tourism.
There is now.
Far out, that's cool.
Which is changing the place and bringing more people. It's good things, bad things. So, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the reason that was kind of relevant was that they've recently become a dark sky reserve in the hopes of bringing kind of tourism in the off season or just tourism of a different sort.
What is a dark sky reserve?
There's an international association which has kind of set up all these scientific parameters of how dark things are, and they actually go around and measure how dark somewhere is.
Okay. Yep.
And I think you also have to put in place maybe rules and regulations for the future to protect that darkness. And there are different levels for like built up areas versus really natural areas. So there's different levels of,
Yes, okay.
like
Yep.
national park,
Versus
something else.
Queen Street.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was kind of on my radar of, and of course Tekapo is a example that everyone kind of knows about.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, so there was that, and there was the fact that I sleep with my eyes open a little bit, and I don't like light at nighttime.
Yep.
And so I thought, well, why don't I go out and take this thing that I do, which is painting. It's not the only thing I do, but it's one of the things I do, and try and sort of make a scene and start some conversations with people to
Definitely
see if anyone thought along the same lines, or whether I could convince them to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Now we obviously talked about this beforehand, but this is your revised version of the Milky Way,
Yes.
which I think is really cool. And these are, now I asked you if this was, Aurora Borealis, but you made a very valuable point. Talk me through that.
So a lot of the painting that I do, I base on reference photos. I did bring it with me today, but astrophotography photos.
Yes,
So,
yep.
and they, with the long exposure of the camera and things, they pick up more light in the sky than we would see with our naked eye. So even, I guess, when you're taking photos of the aurora, you can see it a lot more with one of those cameras. Apparently they happened while I was on Stewart Island, but I was asleep every time, so the commitment wasn't there.
Commitment to sleep might have been.
Yeah, exactly. They obviously weren't bright enough to wake me up while I was sleeping.
Yeah.
But yeah, the colours, I was really attracted to the colours for the painting. And it's meant to be like over an iconic sort of Northland scene. So I've got, the painting's not finished yet, so in one corner I'm going to have a little whare, and on the other side I'm going to put the stone store from Kerikeri.
Brilliant.
Maybe a little bit of smoke hanging in the air, something like that. And the idea being that I'm going to try and paint my most beautiful Milky Way starry night sky that I can.
Yeah.
And get people invested in, it's really beautiful and it's lovely, and put it all on social media and sort of get people to follow the progress of the painting as well online.
What a great idea.
Yeah, so like little update photos of how it's going, and also in the street when I was working on the background and things, people could walk past and then walk past again and see what had changed.
So they get to sort of, they're invested in the evolution process
exactly
as well. That's really cool.
Yeah. And then with the idea being that I've got this petition to the district council around lighting, so asking them to consider valuing our dark skies, and basically just as we plan, as we develop and get more people, and just to put the right sorts of lighting in, because there are things you can do which preserve dark skies while still giving you lighting for safety and people and things like that. And then if I don't reach 500 signatures, I've set it as, by the 21st of October, I'm going to like ransom the painting basically and start painting lights over it until the light pollution grows so much that you can't see any of the stars anymore.
Okay.
I'm kind of like, sign my petition.
Okay, so where can people find the petition?
It's online on change.org, so there is an online version.
Yes.
But also it'll be on my social media platforms and things.
Cool.
I think if you search like Northland Starry Skies petition, something like that,
something will pop up.
Yep.
What we'll do
we can do a link.
We'll put a little thing sort of mid-frame, something. We'll do that, eh?
Yep.
Thumbs up. Got the old chair. So yeah, we'll get that done.
Nice.
So I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Now you didn't start off just doing stuff like this, because there's the
a few other things around the
seagull
room
behind you,
yes.
And behind me. What have I got behind me?
You've got actually two that I painted of Stewart Island scenes that.
So I've got one, that one up there.
Yep. That is like a little.
We can see that.
Lots of my paintings are kind of based on the light in the scene, so capturing light and how it's lighting up either the water, or in that one behind you, like the fishing buoys on the water and the way they're kind of illuminated. Yep. Or the greenery.
And then I'll just move out of the way.
Yeah.
That one there.
Another watery scene with some buoys and some.
Can we see it? Do I need to shrink my shoulder down? Editor Rocky is going to have a quick look at the moment.
Nice.
He's giving me the thumbs up, so we're good. Okay, cool. Cool. And then you've obviously got the seagull one, another water scene behind you as well. Yep. Which is very cool.
Thank you.
That's nice.
Yeah, and so that all started out.
I was going to say, I think if you lean the other way.
The other
there
way.
We go. Yep.
There we go.
There we go. We caught that, Rocky? Yep. Again, he's giving the thumbs up. Or we get the thumbs up, the eyebrows, or the head nod. And he's going side to side.
We don't know what he means.
He's got no idea. At this point, it's very inconclusive.
Yeah.
Looks like he's doing a bit of a shimmy in the chair. Where did the love of art come from? Because obviously there's a real depth here, and I read in your bio that you sent through that the smaller art is often harder to do.
Yeah.
So where did your love of art stem from?
I think I have kind of arts in the family for me. So my dad's sister is a professional, like, full-time artist down in Nelson.
Oh, wow.
She has things in galleries in Auckland and different places like that.
That's impressive.
So she's a bit of an inspiration that it's possible. And yeah, what I really enjoy her work as well.
Yeah,
it's
cool.
very different to mine, but it's very cool. And Dad was really also a drawer, and he shapes surfboards and does other sort of little creative projects, and my mum has made concrete sculptures and things in the past. So
okay,
yeah, it's always been in the family, and my brother and I used to spend lots of time as kids like drawing little imaginary worlds on great big bits of cardboard, and
very cool.
Yeah, and always having coaching from Dad about perspective this, and you could just good little tips and pointers, and
so sort of
lots
quite
of encouragement.
A very creative and artistic household.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
Now, I mean, I Lord knows I didn't come from one. My dad played rugby and cricket, and Mum was a home person, so I don't know where the hell my love of art and theatre come from. But for you, was it sort of you wanted to explore, I guess, oil, canvas, and that sort of stuff on your own, or did you kind of sort of deviate out into some of the other art disciplines that there are?
I think I started out mostly with drawing. So drawing was my first and probably still maybe my strongest skill. So I doodled a lot in pen and did lots of like portraits and stuff while I was in high school. I was often very bored in high school, so I just drew lots of pictures.
You were the doodler?
Yeah.
Nice.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then I took art as a subject in school, and I felt a little bit like I was cheating. It was almost like, is this really okay? Like, am I allowed to do this? And it's so easy because I so much practice at it.
Yeah.
And it just seemed a little bit too easy, but
a pass is a pass, right?
Yeah.
Hey, take it where you can get it.
Exactly. I was like, really?
Yeah.
But it was a real transition, because when you had to do for school, you had to do art painting as a subject. So I had to move from drawing into painting, which was this real like transition that I was not that keen on at first. And so my painting has been almost like a love-hate relationship for me over time. Yeah. And I think initially the painting smaller was maybe just because it was less scary. Like, it's not as intimidating to paint something small.
Yeah.
It's like maybe it looks like it'll be done sooner, or
I can see that,
something like that. But actually, it's kind of quite different. So on the table there in front of us, we've got some of the tiny things that I've made.
I'm going to grab some of them now. We've got a Pohutakawa tree. Hold that up to the camera. Can we see that?
It's very, very small.
Editor Rocky, can we see that? We can. So Pohutakawa tree. That looks like it's from a beach up north.
I think it's based on one in Browns Bay in Auckland, where I lived for a little while.
Really?
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful
iconic
feel.
Yep.
It is. What else have we got? We've got
Norfolk pine tree.
Norfolk pine tree. It's got that little part there. Is it designed to be worn as a necklace?
Yeah, I did start.
So there's the Norfolk pine one.
A flatmate that I was living with at the time, he made for his girlfriend this little wooden pendant thing, and I got all inspired, and I thought, what could I do to make presents for my family and things like that. And I made a few little paintings, and I was really interested in painting places that people connected to.
Yeah, definitely.
In a really personal way, and then they could wear them as jewellery.
Hole in the Rock?
Yep, Hole in the Rock.
Hole in the Rock. Mm-hmm. Classic Bay of Islands.
Yep.
And then, I won't lie, my favourite out of the lot of them.
Oh.
It is. Where is this one?
Rangitoto.
So in my bedroom, I have a dusk or sunset drawing, painting very similar to this. It's of Mount Maunganui and two people walking along the beach. I
Beautiful.
love love these types of paintings. I think they're so beautiful and peaceful. For me, that represents peace, because I grew up in Gisborne, loved the beach, spent far too much time there, including during high school. And for me, the beach has always been a very happy place. And then we've got some earrings.
Yeah, even smaller again.
Now these are super tiny. Hang on, just quickly. I don't want to break them. Get my hand over the top there. So we've got, these are ferns, right?
Yeah, sort of based on that same Norfolk pine tree thing again.
Oh, damn it. So fiddly. There we go. Hold them up like that.
They're about
They're
like
super tiny. Can we see them, Editor Rocky?
A centimetre across.
We can. I'm very tiny.
Yeah.
We'll take some photos later and put them up. These are so cool. These are absolutely amazing. Now, they're not on traditional canvas. They're on wood. Is that right?
Yeah. And so the flatmate who made the wooden pendant for his girlfriend, I was kind of like, oh, that's cool. And then what could I do that's similar but different?
Yep.
And so I started doing these things on wooden pieces. And I really enjoyed like the organic shape and the round shape. So that I found kind of more interesting than just a blank square. Like when I used to doodle at high school, I used to love drawing on paper that already had some sort of scribble on it or some sort of words, and then you'd start your drawing from there instead of starting with just a completely blank canvas.
Yeah. So there's sort of some texture behind it already.
And something to go off, yeah.
That's very cool. Now, you obviously did quite well at art at high school. In fact, you did very well.
Oh.
Didn't you?
I did, actually.
You did.
Yeah.
Year 13 art folio. That was pretty cool. Tell me about that.
Well, so that was my third year of trying to do painting.
Okay.
And it was maybe going a little bit better, but I think like all creative people, I left everything to the last minute.
Yes.
Every year, for some reason, take 2 weeks off school at the end of the term to finish your art painting folio.
Yeah.
It was kind of, I think it's a bit of a theme for me, actually. So the science that I studied was environmental science. So I'm a bit of a campaigner about lots of different issues that I think, like conservation-wise, environmental things.
Yeah, sure.
And my art folio in year 13 was kind of, I'd flick through all these National Geographic magazines for inspiration. So there was a lot of like poaching and like animal feet with like blood dripping out of them and drought and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think, and I put that forward through the scholarship program. You could sit exams or put things forward for like chemistry scholarship, history scholarship, art scholarship and things like that. And it was selected as one of the top 60 to go tour around the country.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and that was including like photography and maybe even graphic design and painting.
Oh, wow.
All 60 altogether. Yeah.
So just like a bit of a touring
like
exhibition type thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like a little roadshow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now you've talked about it a couple of times, science. The love of science starts sort of pre-high school?
No, in high school, I would say, actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I found primary school, I was really engaged in learning and I really enjoyed, learning, just full stop. And then high school, for a lot of years, I felt like it was actually almost more of a backward step. And then towards the end of school, there was a chemistry teacher who was just really, snappy, and like I felt like we were learning at a really exciting pace, and I got really into it. And then also because it was like the building block of lots of other things, like a base kind of science.
Sure, yeah.
I thought it was quite cool. And so I actually left school thinking that I was going to major in chemistry and environmental science.
Wow.
At university. And I did 2 years of chemistry at university.
Yeah.
And then realised that I really didn't want to work in a laboratory at all.
Yeah, because I was going to say, they're so divergent, really, aren't they?
Yep.
I mean, you can have the interest, and you usually have like a passion of one or the other, but you've sort of managed to combine the two quite closely and quite intrinsically.
Yeah. I think that's probably classic for me, is that I've got interests in so many different things, and I think the story of my life is trying to figure out how to weave them all together so that I can do everything at once.
So it's interesting that you almost make a conscious choice to go and study science. I guess the next question I have is, why not study art?
Yeah, so art was kind of like a natural, like I said, it felt like I was cheating. It felt like a natural thing that I was kind of good at. And I used to draw a lot of like dresses and things. And everyone thought I was going to go and be a fashion designer when I left school.
That'd be cool.
It would be cool, but it just like the industry didn't appeal to me, let's say. Like I was very
I could see that.
environmentally and kind of meaning driven. I just didn't feel like I would fit in.
Yes.
And kind of also in the art world, I was a little bit like, oh, what's the meaning behind art? Or, you know, is it just superficial or things like that? But also I thought to myself, well, you can't be a scientist without a science degree.
No, that's true. Yep.
You don't need an art degree to be an artist. So I chose one over the other, but I also was thinking about directing and I don't know. So I had so many different ideas when I left high school, and I probably will still change in the future. Like I'm very interested in psychology. So that might be something that happens later on down the line.
That's cool.
Yeah. Don't know how that will fit in with the artwork and the
and
science.
Psychology, man, that's crazy.
Don't know how those two are going to fit together, but maybe I'll work it out. Anyway, so I didn't go and do art out of school because I thought, well, it's something I could always come back to without a formal qualification.
Sure, yeah.
And then I did my degree and I didn't drop out to become an arborist, which I also thought about.
You're going to become an arborist?
I thought about it.
Man, that would have been cool.
Really enjoy climbing trees, so I was like, oh, maybe. Anyway, so I stuck with the science degree, but I did switch out of chemistry into just all of the things that had field trips, which was as close to being an arborist as I could get while still finishing my degree.
Like out of the office.
Yeah, exactly.
Excuse me.
It's all right. So I finished my science degree and I got some work experience after that as well. So my first job kind of out of university was I worked in Auckland on the major city rail link construction project as an environmental, like, don't do this, don't spill that down the drain, with all these construction workers. And
oh wow,
that was a fun job to have. But
like a consultant type thing?
I was employed by the actual contractor, and I worked on site all the time. So I've still got friends who are digger drivers who ring me up from the Coromandel and just like, how's it going?
Oh wow, that's cool.
So I did that and I was like, right, so I've consolidated the degree with some relevant work experience. So now I feel like I can put that aside and it's like a complete little package and I can go back to it when I want to.
Absolutely.
And then I thought, okay, well, I wasn't really enjoying that job in Auckland, so I took some
Well, it's
time.
Auckland.
Yeah, exactly. I know. It was okay, but it wasn't somewhere I was going to stay for a long time.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking at the people I was working with and going, I want to be with them when I grow up. They look really happy.
Yeah. You're like, I want to be here for further my career and then leave.
Yeah, it was a short-term contract anyway, but so I left and I did a little bit of travel and then I came back and I thought, okay, right, I'll get back into the painting thing and see if I can make this into a thing that I do and just do that full time. Yeah.
Were you doing any sort of art
in between?
While you were doing the consulting work, for example?
No, not really actually.
Or you just kind of like tabled everything and like I'll come back to it later.
Yeah, I think I'm someone who has too many different like passions and hobbies and things, so it's like really hard to maintain all of them all the time. So while I was in Auckland and Wellington, which is where I studied, I did also swing dancing, which was really fun. So I spent a lot of time doing that. And I'm also really into sailing and the outdoors, so there was that, and environmental volunteering and bits and pieces. So in between that and working in university, I didn't spend a lot of time doing any art stuff, maybe a little bit here and there, but not heaps. It was really picking up after quite a long time, which felt a little bit daunting.
What's the time length?
What is that? Maybe 3 years of university and then 2 years of 1.5 years of work, so 4 or 5 years sort of thing.
Before you decide to sort of pick up some brushes or whatever and get back into it.
Yeah,
wow,
kind of.
Okay.
I mean, did little bits and pieces, little bits, but nothing major. So yeah,
far out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was pretty like getting back on a horse.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
yeah. It's funny you say that. I'm similar in some ways. I've either done like drama and plays or that sort of stuff, or music. And I've never like had them cross over.
Right.
Because if I do one, I dive head first into it. It's like an all or nothing type thing. And when I did music, because I was a touring musician for 7 years, I didn't really have a lot of time to do other stuff. I got approached by a casting agent if I wanted to play a role in a particular kids' TV show in which people wear different coloured costumes. I'm sure you can guess. I won't say what it is. I was asked if I wanted to be the green one. Yeah, it was very flattering, but I was so focused on music. I went, look, and I'm a serious actor. Thank you kindly. So I do get that you know, when you've got a lot of things that fill up your plate, sometimes there's other things that just kind of have to be put away for a little while.
Yeah.
So 4.5 years, you come back to it. Have you still got the goods, or are you a bit rusty and got to get back into the swing of things? Where are you at?
Yeah, maybe a little bit rusty, but maybe that's because I was actually pretty rusty even beforehand. Like I said, like painting wasn't my first love, so it was still something that I found quite challenging. But in my head, which is silly because looking back, I probably could have furthered the drawing aspect and done more like illustration style.
Oh yeah,
something.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I never really thought about that then. I was like, painting is the step forwards, because that's what, you know, it kind of felt like that at school. It was like, well, you did drawing, but now you have to do painting. It's like the grown-up version of drawing.
Painting's the serious format.
Yeah, that's proper art.
I
don't know, that's just what it felt like. So that's what I did. So then I picked up the painting again, and from that kind of rusty place where it was, and just been improving since then, I suppose.
So you moved from Auckland to Kerikeri?
Back to Kerikeri for a bit.
You're working there. You're back into your art. Is this sort of the time period that you head down to Stewart Island?
This is,
or is it
a bit before.
A little bit before.
Right. So I think it was quite short. Like I thought, I'll be an artist for like a year or a year and a half to really see if I can do it, you know? Like,
okay. Yep.
Yeah. But at the time I was mostly doing my art in the format of those really, really tiny pieces, and as wearable art, hence the Facebook names and things that I have, which I will change once I run out of business cards.
What is it at the moment? Yeah. What is it at the moment?
It's Anna Clarke wearable art. Which
it's
is
got,
like,
it's got
a nice ring to it. But
flows, it's got like nice alliteration.
Yeah.
Anna Clarke, wearable art.
Yeah.
It's nice. What are you going to change it to?
I don't know yet, actually.
Oh, damn it.
Oh, I don't know.
Thought we might have an exclusive.
I don't know. Like with this new thing that I've started, which combines my sort of environmentalism and the painting and the science, is I'm hashtagging it on Instagram as Painting for Progress, which I quite like. Yeah, and nobody else seems to have taken that one. So I think that's going to be like my new thing. That's quite
cool. Yeah. For us, we were lucky when we came up with the name Northland Artists Conversation. I was like, it's probably going to be someone in America, Northland somewhere is going to have it. And it was available on all of the platforms that we use, and I was like, man, that makes my life so much easier.
Yeah, how's nobody thought of this already?
yeah. And it was funny. I've never shared this with anyone. The reason I wanted to call it Northland Artists Conversation is because originally it was called the Northland Artists Conversation, which is the knack.
Oh,
and a friend of mine was taking the piss out of me
Oh.
for my Sharona.
Oh.
And the band that did that is called The Knack.
Right.
So I was like, and it's just a fun song. So that's actually where it came from. I was like, NAC. It's like, what the hell can I make this? It's like Northern Artists. I don't know anything with C. And then it was like, what's no? I can't NAI. That's just dumb. So it's NAI.
Yeah.
I was like, no, it's a conversation.
You started with the acronym and then filled in the blanks.
There we are. Worked backwards. Don't know why, but that's just how it works. So I get it. Mm-hmm. That's cool. So painting in progress. Does that
painting for progress?
Painting,
like painting
for progress.
For the progress you'd like to see in the world, sort of thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So like, for the progress I'd like to see in environment, society, like everything. So this might be the first of like a series that has kind of that political point, and maybe also that sort of interactive ransomy thing. I might do that again if I can think of another concept that works.
Yeah. Do some like guerrilla style documentary filmmaking where it's like, I will hold this painting hostage.
You have to hope people like it in the first place, though. Otherwise they'll be like, I don't care.
Okay, cool. Just show me what you're going to do to it. It's an inanimate object.
Yeah.
Just paint.
Put
dogs on it if you want. Let's just see what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Because I mean, something like this in such a large format, I imagine if once this is complete and you're at a stage where you're really happy with it, I imagine that something like this would have quite a high sale value on it.
I haven't actually decided to sell it. So what I've decided to do is to further increase the, the reason for people wanting to sign the petitions. I don't know, I can't think of the word. Motivation, something.
Something?
Yep. Is that at the end, I will gift the painting to someone who has signed the petition. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Fully charitable situation.
That is super cool, because now there's a lot of time will have gone into this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously your time has a value to it. So, that's a huge giveaway.
Yep.
I will sign tonight.
Yeah, there's a little sweetener on the deal.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I was at an art exhibition a couple of weekends ago, that they had down at Forum North.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of cool artists in there, and I could have seen something like this, and even some of the smaller pieces in there go up quite nicely and sort of comfortably in there as well.
Nice.
Where do you have exhibitions and stuff?
I have not ever. I took my little jewellery things to a market once or twice, but I didn't really find that very useful. I think it's one of those things you have to go often, and then people get to know that you're there. And anyway, that it didn't seem like a useful use of my time.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the work that I do, because I don't paint that often, because I haven't really enjoyed painting very much.
Okay. Drawing more.
But also part of the reason I didn't enjoy painting was because I was stuck at home by myself, and I like to talk to people, and so I would stay at home all day by myself, and I didn't enjoy it.
Yep.
And then also I was inside, and I actually have found that I really enjoy, I didn't want to do chemistry. I wanted to go on all the field trips. So I want to be outside. I want to be active.
Yep.
And I don't want to be sitting down. I want to be standing up. So this project has been awesome for me because it's been painting in a way that I actually could see myself enjoying it. So I'm outside, I'm in the fresh air, I'm standing up with my easel in public places, and I get to talk to any passerby who wants to have a chat. So I'm entertained all day.
I have a question for you. As someone who doesn't like being inside, who likes being out and around other people, how did you find lockdown?
I guess
because as a world, we were all forced to suddenly do Teams meetings.
Yeah.
And that shit was tough.
Well, I kind of lucked out a bit because I was actually partway through volunteering on a Spirit of Adventure trip when the first one happened. And they turned the boat around 6 days into the 10-day trip and sent all the kids home. They're like, the zombie apocalypse is coming. go home. And I was planning to go up north and visit my family anyway, so I was in the beautiful Bay of Islands, and they've got 4 acres of bush and stuff. So
amazing.
we were kind of like outside a lot anyway.
Yeah.
And then the second one, I got to be on Stewart Island. So I was working at Invercargill, so I escaped quickly in the night across the ferry, across the strait, and got to Stewart Island.
Wow.
And kind of everywhere is just a 2K walking distance to this beach and that beach and the other beach. So neither of them felt very much like being too locked down.
Not isolated at all.
Yeah, well, no, not too isolated.
Not too isolated.
Yeah. I definitely Zoom called my friends and stuff.
Yeah. That is absolutely awesome. I mean, Bay of Islands on such a large acreage of land, and then Stewart Island, two fundamentally very different places. But I imagine they looked similar.
Yeah, a bit, yeah.
Just closer beach access on Stewart Island, I feel.
Yes.
But far out, what two amazing places to have a lot.
I totally lucked out.
I was stuck at home with my son and my flatmate and my goddaughter and her mum.
Oh, wow.
So I went from having 3 people to 5.
Wow.
And I had too much people. I would often go for walks at night.
Alone.
By myself, just to get away.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Oh, no. Wow, okay. Did you do much painting during lockdowns at all?
Maybe a tad, but no, not a lot. But coming back to the exhibiting and galleries and stuff. Yes. So I did, while I was painting in Rawene the other day, the guy Lynn from, I think it's number 1 Parnell, the gallery down on the corner of Rawene.
Yes.
He came over and had a look at what I was doing, and he was like, well, if you would like to put some stuff in the gallery, then that'd be great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. And then I think I'm also going to be more excited about painting if I continue doing it outside and in public places.
Yep.
So that just might be the way I work from now on, in a way that I actually enjoy it. So I'm quite excited to have something to work towards, and instead of being like knocking on the doors of galleries and going, would you like my stuff? It's like they're,
please accept me.
Yeah, please accept me. It's like they're, being asked is a lot nicer. So that's really exciting. So
when you're going out, do you kind of let people know the day before where you're going to go, or do you just like sporadically turn up in random places?
Yeah, I'm pretty random.
Okay.
Because I don't know where I'm going to be. So I make up my mind on the morning, and then once I'm there, I'll put a picture up and like, I'm here.
Yeah.
But no, it probably would have been good to be a bit more like scheduled and planned, but that's just not the way I run my life.
Not how you roll.
No.
Because I mean, that'd be really cool. Suddenly, you're just sort of planning the night before, like, hey, I'm going to be here. Mm-hmm. This is the stage the artwork's at.
Yep.
Come and check out to see where it ends up.
Yep.
That'd be awesome. That'd be cool. I'd pay to follow that.
Yeah.
That'd be great. I'm not going to. Rocky, I'm not going to go off on a tangent. I promise.
It sounds like you definitely are. That's like the warning sign before he's like...
So there's a film called...
Pothole ahead.
There's a film called Chef that I really love, and it's an amazing... It's about Jon Favreau as a chef who's a Michelin-starred chef, and he gets kicked out of his restaurant, and he gets a food truck, and they just go from one side of the country to the other, and his son is posting where they're going to go in advance,
right.
And everyone turns up and checks out this amazing thing. And I was like, that would be cool.
Because it's like the novelty factor too. Like I really, when I go and paint in the streets of these kind of small towns, it's a real, like, it really stands out. It's a real novelty thing. Like when I went and did it the first day in Kerikeri, I was really nervous. And because I was like, I don't think anyone's ever done this in this town before. Like it's...
I haven't heard of it.
So I'm going to claim like a world first.
Let's go with that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, probably not too many more of those that I can think of, but...
It's so cool though, because you're painting and you're in amongst the people and everyone gets to see things.
Yep.
And if you get people that kind of spend a lot of time in town, they get to see things. They might shopping for shoes or groceries, and they were like, she's done this little extra part.
That weirdo's still standing on the corner.
Oh my God, I don't think anyone goes weirdo.
Maybe.
It's not like you're in a straitjacket going, I see rabbits, and then with a little hat out asking for, yes, Rocky, this is going off the rails very quickly. Editor Rocky is shaking his head going, what the hell is this guy on? This is just going to be a fun podcast to edit. Who are your influences? Who has inspired you? Obviously, mum and dad. Obviously, family in general. But are there other people that you've met or have seen their work along the way and go, yes?
That's a good question, actually. I think just the natural world in general inspires me, which I think most artists, well, I know not all of them say, but like the light and the photo. I delved into photography while I was on my road trip around New Zealand, so I taught myself how to use one of those SLR cameras. A little bit. I'm no pro,
that's
but
okay.
I can take a nice-ish photo.
There you go. Software is amazing.
to reference paint from.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely just scenery and natural places. And I had a really awesome art teacher at school who was like a family friend as well.
Yeah.
And he was really good at like bringing in, which artists kind of maybe match or similar to what you're already kind of working on, but like look what these people are doing. And yeah, I can't name exactly very many of them.
That's all right.
But yeah.
So where you're at the moment is, it seems like a lot of, I'm going to throw this out there, light-based work.
Yes.
Refractions and reflections. That's not where you started though.
No.
So where is the next evolution? I know, another good question.
Yeah, I would like to paint a bit more expressively. Like I feel like a lot of the work that I do is very controlled and very realism kind of based. And that's good in a way. It's like I had this actually interesting discussion with a musician who I know, and he was going, art's silly because it's like you don't even have to be very good. You just sort of do a scribble on a canvas and people are like, oh, wow, okay, pay lots of money for it. And he was like, as a musician, you just can't do that. You can't sort of half play a bad chord on stage and have people come to see you.
Absolutely you can.
about.
I mean, Little Wayne.
Yeah, maybe. True, yeah. But to a certain degree, there's an element of it has to actually sound good.
Yeah.
You know? But that's subjective as well. But to me, like, it's interesting, the whole painting thing, because it's like, well, is good painting looking really realistic? And then, you know, because that's a skill. But then at a certain point, it's like, why not just take a photo?
Yeah, well,
right?
yeah.
And so the whole point to me of art is like not just showing people a photo of what they could already see, but showing them the world through your eyes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's putting your take on it. Yeah.
I mean, you know, you look at Van Gogh, then Dali, then Pollock. I don't think Pollock is based in any form of reality whatsoever. It looks like a 6-year-old has just emptied a whole bunch of, you know, colour tubes on a thing and just smeared shit around.
Yeah.
But it sells for millions of dollars. I think art is very subjective, and it's your answer reminded me of something that Marino, who was on the podcast and is a writer and also does all of our booking. She said to me, anytime someone puts pen to paper with the intent of writing a story from start to finish, they're a writer. You could almost say the same for painting or anything along those sorts of lines. As soon as you sit down and you start creating, you're
an artist. Yeah.
Yeah. So in that aspect, if you were to go into expressionism, is that what you said?
Yeah, more expressive.
Expressive,
so,
sorry. Yeah.
But yeah.
Controlled?
Just less realism, less controlled,
right.
less, kind of a little bit more abstract maybe.
So why not?
Yeah.
Why not just dive into it?
Because I'm afraid that it's going to just come out and look like just really bad. But I think it's been good doing these paintings like bigger as well.
Yes.
Because you start and it doesn't look good and you just realize that it's okay because you can just paint over it and it's not actually that big of a deal.
Because as you were saying before sitting down to do this, you had the Milky Way was looking like an upside down U.
Yeah,
Is that right?
It was bent all the way down coming into like an upside down U, like a little horseshoe rainbow thing.
Yeah.
And it just the shape of it just looked really dinky and really silly.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's going to change.
Didn't feel right.
No, it just didn't give the right impression. So paint over it and keep going and yeah.
And maybe that's one of the bonuses of doing the bigger art is it's easier to course correct.
Make definitely.
Adjustments.
Yeah, and you maybe have to because you've got to put bigger swipes on the canvas so some of them don't come out really controlled and really perfect because you just can't.
They're never going to be the same, are they? You might have less paint in one particular part of the brush than you might do somewhere else, and when you do it again, it might be thicker in other places. That is very cool. Yeah. That's very cool. And then you, with this being sort of the feature piece that you're working on at the moment. After you've gone through the ransom stage, or the petition,
hopefully it survives.
The petition stage. I could just imagine that someone gets this and it's like, this is not what I was.
This is not what I ordered.
This is something completely different. What will be the next sort of project you'll start looking at?
I've got a few other ideas for similar types of work, but I've also got some more which are just beautiful picture based for maybe this gallery that is keen to have some of my work. So
cool.
I've got some little sketches and things that I did bring along, but just off reference photos. But in terms of this sort of project, I'm kind of interested in the whole the overdoing of health and safety in the cotton wool world that we might end up living in.
Oh, right.
And so I was thinking, how do I illustrate that? And so it was like, maybe it could be, Tenzing and Edmund Hillary, like at the top of Everest or something. And then like stick cotton wool on them until they they can't even move
almost
anymore.
Completely obscured.
Or maybe I don't know, something like that to make a comment on that part of the world.
Northland Artists Conversation are incredibly proud to support the Quarry Arts Centre. Quarry Arts Centre, amazing place, located on Selwyn Ave in Whangarei. Such a wonderfully beautiful venue. They are an art gallery, and they have some amazing exhibitions, and they also hold Te Kōwhai Print Trust as well. Another really, really cool artistic endeavour that's done as well. They will have different exhibitions and shows of all different types of medium available as well, and they're such a long-standing venue in the community as well. Highly recommend you checking them out. Fantastic place. Really, really cool to take the kids and family as well. So, Northland Artists Conversation, proud to support the Quarry Arts Centre. So one of the wonderful things about doing the podcast is that a lot of people don't know is that the editors edit these things very, very well, and it makes it look like it's one seamless conversation. But we do have breaks in between them. Now, we've just started up. I'm going to break every wall here. We've just started up. Now, you had some really interesting comments, and I'd like to touch on those about lighting. And the reason for that is your work is heavily influenced by lighting. You said that lighting itself, and I'm guessing in a CBD context, we don't need as much, and we could reduce it.
Yes.
And obviously, you have the seagull behind you. You have the two. Oh, crap.
It's actually an albatross.
It's an albatross.
Seagull, I will paint some seagulls later.
Albatross. My apologies to all the albatross lovers. I have this one behind me and then this one above me as well. And then obviously you have this beautiful artwork which is very light-centric and essentially three different light sources, because you have your Milky Way, you have your beautiful vision, and then you have sort of the oh crap!
The landscape.
The landscape. No, the purpley hue.
Oh.
Is that purple?
Yeah, purpley, pinky.
Oh, no, I can't even, like mauve.
I
don't know. So, for you, where does lighting sit? Not in your artwork, but for you, where does it sit in everyday life?
In terms of, like, how do I light my room? Or
No, and just in terms of lighting in general, because you've spoken about not having curtains, for example. As someone who likes sleep-ins.
Yeah.
Also as someone who, in my early 20s, used to like to stay up quite late and partay.
Right. Yeah.
Having curtains where you can sleep is quite important. Lighting sort of around CBD and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So, for me, that conversation that we just had was very, very interesting.
Right. Yeah. So, kind of, it was not just through research, but it was just through thinking about it as well. I was kind of going, well, does lighting, I wanted this painting and this project to be solutions focused. So it was saying, well, yes, we need to have like the right sorts of lights to maintain our dark skies, and we can do that. They exist, they're out there, we know what they are, we just have to implement them. And it was a nice one because it's like a win-win. It's not asking people to give up anything, because you can still have their lights, but without having the light pollution. So that was like, you don't have to give up anything to get the thing that I'm aiming for, or that would be nice for everyone, I think. But personally, like if I was going to be really hardcore about it, I'm like, well, do we even need so many lights? And people often, like councils and things, will put them in because they're like, we really think this is going to make our communities safer, and they often put them in for both people's safety, walking around towns and things, but also, people think it's going to reduce crime, and also for traffic safety. But it's not like necessarily the case, like even just when you logically think about it, and there have been studies done that kind of back it up as well, which you can find on the International Dark Skies websites and things. And basically, if you think about it, it's like, if it's pitch black, like, are you really going to go out there and try and like steal somebody's car or do some graffiti if you can't see what you're doing?
Sure. I get that.
And also, if you can't see what you're doing, you might have to take your own little light, and you have to like illuminate yourself doing a crime. And so if anyone drives past, they're like, what's that person doing over there? Like, it's kind of makes you stick out more, and you're more obvious.
I can see the logic behind that. Yeah.
And same with like the traffic safety thing. It's like our eyes actually, in the darkness, we can see other light sources better if it's completely dark, which is the same thing when you're on a boat at night and you're looking for other hazards like buoys or rocks and things. The lights are on the hazards. Same when you're driving. You can see the lights of another car coming around a corner easier if it's not all with street lights. So, I just question whether more lighting actually makes us safer. Yeah.
Is that sort of... I guess it's sort of been something that's sort of been a featured theme of your artwork. You know, you've got... Again, I'll reference the art that's sort of standing up. And this obviously being... Yes, it's light, but it's the opposite. You've got day.
Yep. Yeah.
And now you've got night. Could this turn into a series?
Yeah, well, this is the first nighttime painting I've ever done.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's been a bit of a challenge. Like, I didn't really know. And there were times where I was like, how to paint, I don't know what it's called, like the Milky Way part where it's like with the, I don't know, the cloudy bits.
Yeah.
And I was like, how to paint it. And I had some guy on YouTube and I was like, is it cheating watching somebody else give you a tutorial about how to paint something or,
no.
or not?
No, not at all.
Yeah, but a series in terms of other night sky painting?
Yeah.
Probably not. I don't know. It's just...
Why?
I don't know.
If this one pushed you,
yeah,
and this is kind of the first, it's the benchmark, you know, could something like this be turned into like a triptych, for example?
Yeah,
for the people that are watching at home, a triptych is a series of 3 paintings.
Right.
There we go.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good question. I'm not as drawn to it for some reason. Like it's been a really cool exercise, but it doesn't inspire me as much as the sun. I think also just in my life, I'm probably more solar powered than anything else.
Right.
That's what I mean. Like I don't sleep with the curtains shut because I like to wake up when the sun gets up, and I don't actually stay up very late. I'm sort of like a sunshine hours sort of a person.
Right, yes. Yeah. Which I think is how we're meant to be, right?
Maybe, but I mean, there's, no right and wrong. Everyone has a different, some people are night people, and that's cool. That's their thing.
Some people in their 20s are night creatures.
Yeah.
And will sleep during the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. We're all different and individual.
Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah. All right. How have you actually found it? It being your first and may very well be your only.
Maybe.
Yeah. Which makes it even more purposeful to sign the petition because it could be a one-off.
It could be a one-off.
And worth even more.
Worth even more.
How have you found the whole exercise? I mean, if you're doing a lot of daytime stuff, it's challenging in certain ways, but this is a completely different skill set.
Yeah. It's been really fun actually. Like also the painting bigger has been really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and once I kind of got the hang of the Milky Way part, it's mostly been pretty easy and fun from there on in. Like once I was like, okay, this is how it works. There's like lighter bits around the edges and darker bits in the middle, and as long as I like kind of sort that out, then it looks like the real deal.
Cool.
And then so you can see kind of like there's a darker part on the inside of the Milky Way, and then there's lighter edges that kind of come in. And once I got that sorted, it was like, okay, that looks like the Milky Way. That's cool. And then I got to do like flicking little white bits of paint on to make stars.
Nice.
Which is really easy and really effective and just fun bits. So I'm up to the fun part at the moment.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have one sort of major last question. Mm-hmm. This is done. What's next? And is there anything coming up that people need to be aware of?
Well, I really do like the idea of this painting in the street and also painting for a purpose or painting. I've got the hashtag on. We talked about it already. Painting for progress.
For progress.
Yeah. And so I'd like to do more of those, and I also really enjoy being outside and around other people, and So I'm thinking about a few different concepts. Like the next one could be around sort of our maybe taking health and safety culture too far.
Yes.
And the kind of cotton wool.
We talked about that just before. Yeah.
Was that Was
the
that
Edmund
on
Hillary one.
Was it on the podcast
It
or in the
was.
break though?
In the podcast.
It was on the podcast.
It was.
Yeah.
We'd finished up and then we took a break.
Between,
That's okay. Yeah. It all blends into
It
one
does,
after a period of time. With Edmund Hillary and Tenzing standing on top of Everest, but being covered covered completely in cotton balls.
Yeah.
Like they're all wrapped up in a big security blanket.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's probably what's next. I've got a job over the summer for, I'm going to be working on a tourism boat in Bay of Islands, so I'll be outside sailing and stuff. So
That's right.
Yeah, 4 days, hopefully it'll be 4 days on, 4 days off, so I'll have time in my spare time to do more painting, which would be nice, carry on that sort of painting for progress project.
Yeah, it's super cool that the borders are open. We're not wearing masks.
Yeah, true.
People are able to go out, and I think, I spent the last two summers with a previous job going through in Paihia especially, and just seeing how decimated, absolutely decimated that whole place, for example, got just because there was no tourism dollar coming in.
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually went to a workshop today about sustainable tourism, and it's a really interesting concept because it's like, is there actually such a thing? In a way, because if you think about it, it's it has all these other impacts that we don't often see. It's like actually with the increase in people, you need more infrastructure, and then that comes back generally on the ratepayers. And
it does.
And then so many different things, and then it pushes up house prices and things like that, so it makes it less affordable for local people to live there. And
it also pushes up rent as well for people that have to rent there.
And maybe there's no long-term rentals, so actually businesses can't have staff living there and things like that, so it can be really tricky, and it can also mean that it ruins the actual tourism experience, because if you get too many people in a place, the locals are like, just more tourists, and they don't want to engage and interact, which is actually what a lot of us travel for, is to interact with the people in the places. I
know that they've had there was a real big push on Kiwis seeing New Zealand, and I think that's been very healthy. Yeah. I think that's been, when you said sustainable tourism, I instantly thought, well, I mean, that's sustainable, encouraging, people to travel to areas that they may not have been to before, and getting to see New Zealand. And
closer as well, so less jet aeroplane flights, less carbon footprint. It's definitely a good thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think with that one, you need to make the prices come down a little bit. It can't be cheaper to fly to Sydney than it can be from, here to Auckland. That's scary.
Stewart Island, we actually had like the busiest tourism season they'd ever seen, because everyone in New Zealand went, well, we can't go overseas, let's go overseas to Stewart Island.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So we actually had a really busy time straight after COVID, which was good for them down there. Yeah.
Are there many people that live on Stewart Island?
There's like 400 permanent residents.
400? Well, okay, that's probably about 300 more than I was expecting.
Yeah, okay.
I was like going, man, it's going to be like, so they're all in shanties. But no, they've got electricity.
Yeah, they do, Do
they have internet?
It's a bit patchy.
Okay.
But, yeah.
And all the things that we sort of take for granted. That's funny.
Definitely.
Oh, very cool. Yep. Anna Clarke. Thank you so much for coming in, and just such a wonderful conversation to have about not just art in general, but a lot of other things that you're passionate about, and I think that passion really comes through. So we'll put the petition change.org either here or there or both, or we'll even put it on the wide shot underneath the painting where it will look beautiful. Nice. But thank you so much for coming in and sitting down with myself and talking. It has, for me, it's actually just been super cool. So thank you very much.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Really appreciate it. It's been great to be here.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, everyone, thank you for watching. Actually, just going to take my glasses off. Got a little bit of an itchy eye. Anna Clarke, man, what a really cool podcast. She has some really interesting things that she talks about. She talks about science and going off and studying that, and doing environmentalism and doing some consulting. I found it really interesting that she was just like, let's go to Stewart Island. I just want to go to Stewart Island. Why not? I mean, I think a lot of us have done some really random things in our times. Lord knows I have. But Stewart Island, man, how cool is that? And she just goes back and forth there for some summers. She talks about, spending time there during the second lockdown, I think it was. And that's just so cool. Amazing place. She talks about lighting and how lighting relates to her, and shares some really interesting concepts and ideas about sort of lighting CBDs in general and stuff like that. For me, it was one of those podcasts that it was nice to get to know the person, and we always do. And we often talk a lot about an artist's expression and that sort of stuff, and we'll touch on a little bit of bits and pieces around who they are and what makes them up. With Anna, you kind of get a lot of different layers, and for me, super cool. So where can you, the listener or the viewer, find all our podcasts? Well, I will do my best to represent, as Andrew normally would do. He does a fantastic job, and I know I'm not as good as him, so I'll keep doing my best, and I'm sure one day I'll get it right. So, for the videos, it's the socials. For the socials first, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Northland Artists Conversation. For video, you can find us on YouTube at Northland Artists Conversation. For audio, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, all under Northland Artists Conversation. And we also have a Patreon page. Now, Patreon is an opportunity for you guys, the listeners or viewers, to give a little bit more to the podcast. We have two different tiers. We have our first tier, which is a cup of coffee. That's about $5 a month. And then we have our second tier, which is Coffee Addict. Now, Coffee Addict gives you a few more perks than $5. Or the cup of coffee does. We'll do a bit of a shout out for you. Had some feedback from some of our listeners and viewers. Patreon has apparently been quite hard to find. What I've been told is that you do need to actually log into Patreon, create an account, and then search by us. You will find us, and I can say that because we have our very first patron. So I want to give a very, very hearty, warm shout out to Lauren Roach, who was also a guest on the podcast and is absolutely amazing. If you haven't had a listen to that podcast, highly recommend you go check it out. In fact, if you're just new to this, check out all of our other podcasts. Some really fascinating stories and some fascinating people that we've had along the way. They're just an absolute treat, and you get to learn about people that are local. And these are people that you might go, oh, I've never really thought of, pottery or oh man, who else? Like doilies and stuff like that. Highly recommend finding and listening or watching to people that you may never have heard of, and learn learn a bit about who they are, what they do, what drives them and inspires them. And I hope that in turn inspires you to do the same, to get out and be creative in any way that you see fit. This whole podcast is about connecting with people and making sure that we're getting as many people in from as many different genres and getting them out for all of our lovely Northland audience to see. I did want to say that if you are an artist and you're not on our radar, we would love to hear from you, and you can contact us by emailing us hello@northlandartistsconversation.co.nz. Thank you very much. We would love to have your support. That would be absolutely amazing. It's we're filming this, and it's almost the end of September. By the time this comes out, it'll probably be around end of October. We've had daylight saving. Days are going to get longer. Good times. We've had some nice, warm, sunny weather now. Roll on summer. Honestly, I'm looking forward to getting back at the beach. I like to go to Matapuri. It's just such an amazing place. Huge thank you not only to my wonderful team at Northland Artists Conversation, but also a huge thank you to you. If you've tuned in, we really appreciate the support. We can't do this if you guys don't enjoy it, and we get so much positive feedback from people that do enjoy it. So thank you very much. On that high note, I will go from the camera that's staring straight at me to the wide camera right there, straight down the barrel. My name is Mark Kelly. The empty chair is normally filled by the indomitable Andrew Mackenzie. This is the Northland Artists Conversation, and we'll see you guys real soon.